Hey everyone, welcome to Dallah Games, and after decompressing following last week's presentation, I'm ready to talk about one particular game I'm super excited for. But before we get into that, I want to do a bit of promotion. With all the presentations last week, I usually don't get as hyped by myself. But this time, I live streamed with my JRPG Pursuit podcast co-host, Emily from Orbology. We had a great time and even got Feji from Cozy Feji on as a guest. Despite some of the letdowns, we had a ton of fun reacting to the presentations and talking with everyone. If you're interested in more, check out our podcast and Cozy Feji's channel. I'll link them below in the description. Anyways, let's move on to the games. So a new Digimon Story game is officially on the way, and if your last memory of Digimon involved taking care of a digital pet on a small Tamagotchi-like device and trading them with friends, you might be in for a surprise. So back on the PS4, Bandai Namco released Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory, but they didn't seem to get the love they deserved. They weren't just good Digimon games, they were some of the most stylish and surprisingly mature RPGs of the last decade. And with Time Stranger now confirmed, there's never been a better time to revisit where this modern Digimon renaissance began. Now, whether you're a longtime fan, a curious newcomer, or someone just wondering why people are still talking about Agumon in 2025, this video will catch you up on everything you need to know, what made Cyber Sleuth so good, how Hacker's Memory expanded it, and what Time Stranger is shaping up to become. So let's dig in. First released in 2015 in Japan and later localized in 2016, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth marked a major shift for the Digimon franchise. Gone were the days of Saturday morning cartoon simplicity. This was a full-fledged RPG with a sleek style and surprisingly mature storytelling. It introduced a more grounded modern setting and wasn't afraid to lean into cyberpunk aesthetics, tech anxiety, and digital philosophy. It wasn't just a game about raising monsters. It was a story about identity, data, and the blurred line between reality and the digital world. Now, you play as a seemingly average teenager who gets caught in a mysterious incident that leaves their consciousness partly digitized. That's right, you become kind of a ghost in a machine, able to travel between the real world and cyberspace. This premise kicks off a larger mystery that involves rogue hackers, corrupt corporations, and digital life forms behaving in ways they shouldn't. The game immediately sets itself apart by treating its world and its audience with more narrative respect than you might expect. The real and digital worlds are connected by Eden, a massive online space where people meet, work, and even live out parts of their lives. Through Eden, you join up with a quirky detective agency that investigates digital crimes. Everything from missing persons to full-on cyber terrorism. And through that work, you slowly uncover just how deep the digital rabbit hole goes. The tone of Cyber Sleuth is what really sells it. Yes, it still has its share of talking monsters and anime tropes, but underneath that is a surprisingly reflective story about human connection, technological dependence, and what happens when our digital selves become more real than our physical ones. It's not afraid to be weird, but it also takes itself seriously when it counts. Think Persona, but with less teen angst. So no, this isn't the Digimon you remember from your childhood. Cyber Sleuth carved out a space for the franchise in the modern RPG landscape, and it did it without compromising its identity. Whether you're a longtime fan or someone just looking for a sharp, stylish RPG with a unique spin, this is a game that knows exactly what it wants to be. And more importantly, it pulls it off. At its core, Cyber Sleuth is a traditional turn-based RPG, but with monster collecting twists that leans heavily into team building and strategy. You'll explore dungeons, take on quests, battle rogue programs, and steadily climb towards uncovering a major conspiracy. But what keeps players hooked isn't just the story. It's the way Digievolution turns the entire experience into a satisfying loop of progression and experimentation. The Digievolution system is where the game really shines. It's not a straight line. You're constantly evolving, de-digivolving, and branching out based on stats, types, and memory limits. There's a sort of mad science energy to it. You raise a cute little creature, turn it into a skeletal knight, and then backpedal into a slime just to unlock a completely different path. It's part puzzle, part grind, and completely addicting once you realize how deep it goes. You're not just training Digimon for fun. Your team matters. Each Digimon has its different types, attributes, and roles in combat. So putting together a balanced party is key. Battles are fast, clean, and surprisingly strategic, with turn order manipulation, buffs, debuffs, and status effects playing real roles in how fights unfold. And if you're the kind of player who loves min-maxing stats or building broken teams that wipe bosses out in 2 turns, Cyber Sleuth absolutely lets you do that. Now, outside of combat, the game offers a surprising amount of side content and quality of life systems. You can train Digimon at your Digifarm, send them on missions, tweak their behaviors, and even raise their camaraderie for certain evolutions. There are also detective side quests, collectibles, and a monster database to obsess over. It's not open world, but it gives you plenty to chew on, especially if you enjoy optimizing builds or digging through menus with purpose. While Cyber Sleuth set the tone for the modern Digimon RPG, Hacker's Memory built on it in a way that's easy to overlook, but just as important. Released in 2017 in Japan and 2018 worldwide, Hacker's Memory is a companion game, not a direct sequel. It takes place during the same timeline as Cyber Sleuth, but tells a parallel story from a completely different perspective. And that shift in viewpoint is exactly what makes it worth playing, even if you already know how the original unfolds. You play as Keisuke Amazawa, a teenager who gets his Eden account stolen and framed for crimes he didn't commit. With no other options, he joins a hacker group to uncover the truth and clear his name. Unlike Cyber Sleuth's protagonist, who works more like a digital detective, Keisuke operates from the underground. He's not solving cases for the public, he's navigating a murkier world of rival hacker teams, backdoor programs, and shady digital dealings. I compare that to how Lloyd in the Trail series is the goody two-shoes detective, and Van Arkwright from Daybreak is more morally gray in how he deals with issues. This different lens gives Hacker's Memory a grittier, more personal tone, while the overarching plot still ties into the major events of Cyber Sleuth. The game focuses more on relationships, character growth, and the moral gray areas of the digital world. You see familiar events from new angles and meet characters who were just names or cameos in the first game. It's a smart way to expand the world without retreading the same narrative ground. Gameplay-wise, Hacker's Memory doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it does polish it. The core systems remain the same: turn-based battles, Digi-evolution, team building, and exploration, but it adds more Digimon, refines the battle balance, and improves quality of life elements like quest tracking and progression pacing. Think of it as the final mixed version of the Cyber Sleuth formula: more content, tighter systems, and a slightly sharper edge. If you're planning on playing both games, you don't have to start with Hacker's Memory, but you'll get the most out of it if you've already experienced the original Cyber Sleuth. It rewards returning players with deeper context, Easter eggs, while still standing on its own. Together, the two games create a surprisingly rich RPG world, one that's more nuanced and interconnected than Digimon has any right to be. And if the upcoming game pulls from both, Hacker's Memory might end up being the missing piece you didn't know you needed. So with Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory behind us, what does it all mean for the next Digimon Story game? Well, the next generation is officially titled Time Stranger, and it comes out on October 3rd, 2025. The trailer finally gives us a real look at what's coming, and it's clear this isn't just another Cyber Sleuth rehash. While it's still being developed by the same team that gave us Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory, Time Stranger looks like a serious leap forward in both presentation and narrative scope. Instead of cyberpunk Japan and digital ghost hunting, now we're dealing with time travel, parallel timelines, and what might be the most ambitious story the series has ever attempted. The biggest shift is thematic. The trailer leans heavily into time manipulation and mythological power, hinting at a world where past and future realities collide across both the human and digital worlds. We get a glimpse of ancient ruins, advanced cityscapes, and mythic Digimon that likely belong to the Olympus XII, a pantheon of god-tier Digimon inspired by Greek mythology. This fits with earlier leaks, but now we know for sure this story is going cosmic. Where Cyber Sleuth focused on identity and digital crime, Time Stranger is going full-on epic. Despite the new setting and tone, it looks like Time Stranger is keeping the franchise's core strengths. We see familiar turn-based combat, flashy special moves, and what appears to be an upgraded interface. Sharper, faster, and more cinematic than anything in Cyber Sleuth. If the systems under the hood remain intact, we can expect a return of deep Digivolution trees, memory-based team building, and satisfying grind potential. And with time travel as a core mechanic, it's possible that Digivolution itself could tie into the timeline branching or alternate forms. Based on the new trailer, there's a digital playground to raise and train Digimon and some sort of card game as well tied to the Digivices. We'll have to wait and see how those aspects will play into the game, and once I get my hands on this game, I'll report back on my findings. Presentation-wise, this is a clear step up. The trailer shows off dramatic cutscenes, stronger English voice work, and more polished animation than we've seen in any Digimon Story game. It gives the impression of a full-budget RPG, something designed to stand alongside the genre's modern heavyweights, not just serve fans of the brand. And with multiple releases on PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC, it's clear Bandai Namco is aiming for a broader audience this time. So what does that mean for you, the player gearing up for this release? Playing Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory still matters. Not necessarily for direct plot connections, but to understand the tone, complexity, and systems this new game is building from. Those games laid the foundation. Time Stranger looks ready to build something massive on top of it. And if the trailer is anything to go by, we're not just getting a new Digimon game, we're getting a new era for the series. If you haven't played Cyber Sleuth or Hacker's Memory, now's the time. They're available as complete collections on Switch and PC while separate on the PlayStation. And they're often on sale for the price of a sandwich and a half or something like that. And if you're already a fan, let me know which Digimon made it into your final party. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to digivolve that like button, subscribe for more videos, and I'll catch you on the next one.